Yeah, and it's like none of it is anything that I really want to engage with, right? Like, so, like, what have we missed over the last 6 weeks? I don't know. Podcast that's back. My name is Bob, sitting across the way from my good friend and co-host. That's Abe. How you doing tonight, Abe?
Doing well, Bob.
Yeah, here we are. Lori's here too. How you doing tonight, Lori?
I'm fine.
Lori's fine. Tonight is Monday, December the 8th, 2025. It has been not quite 2 months since we last recorded an episode of Cast Iron Brains.
Wow.
Episode number 259 of this version of the podcast.
How about that?
I think it's worth pointing out. That's a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, I think so. You don't think so? You don't sound impressed.
It's a lot. No. I mean, it's. I thought you were going somewhere with 259 being something significant. It's not.
No, it's not. I mean, okay. We blew right by 250, I think, without acknowledging it. So
could have waited for 260. Nice round number.
There's nothing particularly nice about 260. Maybe we'd have to wait until 300, I think,
perhaps, yes.
Really make a big stink.
So what are we talking about? Like end of October? So like I wonder what has happened in the news in the last
shutdown.
Oh yeah, there was a little shutdown.
Was it end of October? It was like middle of October. Either way.
Yeah.
Oddly, I think because we so frequently get together and talk about sports over the last 6 weeks or so, I haven't missed talking about the news.
Whoa. You don't say.
No.
Are you happier?
I don't know if I'm any happier.
I think you are.
Yeah? There is, I don't know, and we don't want to go too long tonight, in part because my voice is not going to hold up, and in part because it's going to get late, whatever. But
we could just talk about the movies.
We'll get to that. And, of course, today I watched like half a dozen Strassmanns, and so I'm feeling, it's starting to work my way back in to the swing of things here. Not doing the news and culture, politics, commentary stuff, and then trying to wade back into it. And maybe it's a bit of a stretch, and of course it's informed by the fact that all that I've been thinking about in terms of trying to have public opinions for the last few weeks is the college football stuff. But there's something about the total lack of institutional authority and legitimacy of the College Football Playoff Committee and the way that they presented themselves basically since we were last here on the Brains episode, and now that is so entirely in keeping with what's going on with the lawlessness of the Trump administration. And the lawlessness is the word that I was focused on as the Biden administration ended and the Trump administration number 2 came to power. And lawlessness is what this administration has been all about for the last 10 months. And Trump recently pardoned the former president of Honduras, right? This was, I think, last week. It's in a long line of pardons of people who very much don't deserve it. And it's particularly galling because the reason that this guy was in jail was because he was like sort of personally responsible for a massive amount of drug trafficking that came into this country.
Didn't he brag about it also?
Yeah, it was something that he was not hiding, right? And I don't have all the timeline stuff down right, but I'm pretty sure the Trump administration was involved in some meaningful way in the successful prosecution of this guy. And then on the back end, Trump is just letting him out of jail, assuming, I mean, they haven't really given a reason. Trump is like, well, he was prosecuted for political reasons, and he wouldn't be in jail if he wasn't the former president or whatever. It's like, he maybe wouldn't have been the president if he wasn't such a successful drug trafficker. So, like, what are we talking about here?
Also, like, it so significantly undercuts the argument that the administration has been making as to why they're bombing seemingly random boats, right? Like, this threat from Venezuela, this drug threat. is such that we need to take these drastic actions, and how dare you question what we're doing there. So you're trying to make this case that drugs, this is a very important issue. They're flooding our country, and we need to do something about it. And then you have someone who has been convicted for drug-related offenses in the U.S., right? And you're pardoning that person. What is the argument then? About
without even really giving a reason for it, right?
Yeah.
Like the surface level excuse is he was a political prisoner, effectively. By the way, in the United States,
Yeah.
like it's not like we're talking about how my buddy Jair Bolsonaro got a raw deal in Brazil, right? And the Supreme Court went after him, and they won't leave him alone, and that's a shame. This was a totally righteous prosecution in the United States of America that your Justice Department itself had some hand in. So like the hand-waving explanation given doesn't hold up to the barest amount of scrutiny.
Right.
And so there must be something underneath it that is going to benefit the United States, or the perception is that it will benefit the United States in terms of the politics of the region, right?
Right. On a recent episode of the political gabfest, what's his face? Plotz, one of the co-hosts, he came up with this. It sounds like a conspiracy theory. Basically, like one possible explanation for this ridiculous pardon is that Honduras has this this freedom zone or whatever, Prospera, this special economic zone where like libertarians and crypto bros can live and have procedures done on them without any sort of like oversight. Like Honduras has no business in that zone.
What sort of procedures?
Like probably like life extending procedures. You know, these weirdos, they're into that sort of thing. But basically, like they're
Okay.
The example that Plotz gave, just off the top of my head, I think he said that a guy went there to have a microchip embedded in his hand so that he could wave at his Tesla and his
Right.
Tesla would open. He didn't have to carry his Tesla key around anymore.
Right. Yeah. But
It's not the sort of thing that they'll do for you with your HMO in California or whatever. You have to go get it done privately.
Right. Which is, to me, like, I mean, how big of a nuisance is carrying your keys around that you would do that? That's kind of a weird thing.
Yeah.
Like, is it that difficult to carry your keys? Anyways, the argument being that there's something like this former Honduran president, like his ilk or his side or his party would be in favor of keeping those zones or expanding them, and I guess the other party is against it, and like that's why they're also making these veiled threats at the election that was coming up in Honduras. Like they haven't explained as to why they're giving this pardon, and so like that seems kind of a weird one. But like it would be odd if it was something like that, where like the crypto side of his base wants this done because they want to promote that sort of stuff.
It wouldn't be. I don't think it would be even all that weird. Like it is going to be something that is of a particular benefit to a friend of his or to the perceived benefit of his administration in some way, right? Like there's no doubt about that.
Right.
Either it's a personal favor to a friend in the person of this president, which seems not to be the case,
right.
or it's a personal favor to someone who has shown generosity to Trump in some way in the past.
Yeah. But it just, to me, it seems kind of like a reckless thing to do. I guess it speaks to the power that Trump has in the party, to where he's not worried about the blowback. Because like, how do the foot soldiers and the people that come on TV representing your views explain that? They have to like talk around it, and they sound like idiots. You know, like he doesn't seem to be concerned about like the optics of it. Like you're pardoning somebody who was convicted of this drug thing that you're trying to make a big deal out of. Which, I mean, it is a big deal.
Right. So there's that aspect of it, with the pardon aspect of it, and then we go and we look at, as you're saying, you're tying it right to the narco-terrorist war that's going on down there in the Caribbean, and that's where I was going as well. There's a weird lie that's being told about the reason why we are doing this at all, right? Like, so the big kerfuffle that happened over the course of the last week was this. Apparently, this was the very first boat strike that Trump tweeted out video of back a few months ago. The difference being that he didn't tweet out the whole video, which the clip that he tweeted out, if you just extended it another 30 seconds, you would have seen what apparently some Congress people saw last week, which is two of the gentlemen, having survived the initial strike, somehow sort of clinging to or otherwise draped on, but still alive, the wreckage of the boat. And like some small portion of this speedboat is overturned and sticking out of the water, and they are clinging to it in the water, apparently. This is not a video that has been made publicly available, but has been described by senators who have watched it. And then a second missile comes in and blows them to smithereens, presumably. And the whole point of this drug war that's going on against these Venezuelan drug boats, so-called, is ostensibly to prevent the import of illegal drugs and dangerous drugs to the United States. The lie is put to that immediately by the fact that this boat in particular, it was acknowledged by the admiral who was in charge of this operation, was likely not headed to the United States in the first place, was instead headed to places unknown in the Caribbean before it would then be transferred to some other vessel and go on to Europe or Africa, where presumably Europeans and Africans would suffer the bad effects of the drugs on board. It didn't have anything to do with Americans. But even assuming that all of these drugs that have been bombed out of the ocean over the course of the last couple of months were headed for American streets and were going to harm Americans, that's not the reason why we are waging this war in the first place, right? The underlying thing is this is obviously an effort at regime change in Venezuela. This is a fight against the Maduro regime. Every single step that we're taking in this drug war is to make life more difficult for Nicolas Maduro. And it doesn't have anything to do with saving American lives. And that's not really a conspiracy theory. That's just acknowledging the reality of the underlying motivations here. Because if you're trying to save American lives, this is not the enforcement action that you would be taking, right? Again, all of these boats can be intercepted without the fire and fury of the United States military raining down from above. This is an intimidation tactic more than it is a drug enforcement tactic. And so there's something about the arbitrariness of the lies that are being told, because for some reason they don't want to acknowledge that they are after regime change in Venezuela, because of course that's against the Trump brand, right? Like Donald Trump is America first. We don't care what goes on in your country as long as you're not particularly doing damage to us, then we don't fucking care. We're not going to interfere. Sort of the pre 9/11 George W. Bush mode of looking at things. Like Trump's entire rise to power is predicated upon the Iraq war being stupid, right? If you take away Trump's idea about the Iraq war being stupid and Trump's idea that Barack Obama was born in Kenya, then we don't have anything of the last 10 or 11 years, right? Like those are the only two things that he was really talking about in 2012 and 2013 and 2015. And so the reason that I tie it to the CFP committee is because these are arbitrary sets of standards that are being applied to things that don't in any way cohere with reality. And when the college football committee says Miami's going to be ranked 18th in week 1 of our ranking, and Notre Dame's going to be ranked 10th in that same ranking, and then Miami and Notre Dame go on to have incredibly dominant runs in much similar fashion for the 8 weeks that follow, and we're going to turn around and say, oh, as it turns out, Miami's actually number 9, and Notre Dame is number 11, and Notre Dame has to go fuck off. They got to the result that they wanted to get to with no respect for the thing that they had said mattered the day before. And it's the same thing that the Trump administration does all the time. They say whatever is expedient or convenient in the moment to get them through the interview, to get them through to the next day, with no regard for what the underlying reality is.
You sound terrible.
Thank you.
I thought you were doing like a RFK impression for a moment.
No.
You know, it's interesting. I've noticed this tactic taken by a lot of the cabinet level heads when they do interviews. Like over the weekend, I think who was it? No, this was a senator, Senator Schmidt of Missouri. Was giving an interview with George Stephanopoulos, and he was asked about something, and he tried to evade the question initially, and then he just gave this blabbering 2-minute response that didn't have anything to do with the question. And so the question was posed back to him a second time, and he was like, why don't you do that to the other guy? Like, he became like belligerent almost. And I wonder if that sort of like just overreact to something, take umbrage with something, is just not like the latest tactic. Just no matter, anytime you find yourself on the ropes, just say something about how the show's lowly rated or how biased it is.
Yeah.
And that seems to kind of get them through answering questions like this, with like the constantly changing justifications for things that have already happened. It's like, new information comes to light, and then you change the argument. Like, oh, we meant this, and it just keeps constantly shifting to fit whatever situation they're in.
And it shows nothing but contempt for the public, whether it's the college football fans or whether it's the citizens of a country. This insistence that it doesn't matter what we say as justification, that all that matters fundamentally is the whim of the executive.
Right.
Right? We have the authority. We're going to deploy the authority as we see fit, and it doesn't matter. We can make up whatever bullshit we want to make up as justification for the thing that we're doing, and most of you will acknowledge that it's all bullshit, that it's all for show, and all of you will suffer the consequences of our imposition of our authority just the same. And it's a fucking bummer. And it makes me not want to talk about it. It's why I haven't missed talking about the news over the last little while, because as I've said many times, throughout this the second Trump administration, anything that you say to be critical of them is a loser's game. You are playing a loser's game when you engage with them on anything like a logical framework. When you try to apply their previous standards of their own to themselves, you're the loser. Right. The same goes for the College Football Playoff Committee. Right. When you try to apply logic and consistency to the thing that they got to based on what they've said in the past, you're a fucking loser. You're just participating in the talk and the churn that they want you to participate in. And the reason that it makes you a loser is because, like I just said, ultimately all that's happening is that you remain subject to their authority, and they are non-responsive to anything that you're saying to object to it.
Right. Almost feels like like those. Every once in a while, there'll be like some video footage out of like some town hall. People, there's like a commenting period, a public period where the locals can take umbrage about like some weird data center that they're building without the voters wanting it, and so they'll let people say a couple of things and like, okay, your time is up, and they go and vote the way they were going to vote anyways. It's like, we'll put on this show as if this public comment period will make any difference. So you do your talk, and then everybody gets done talking, and then you pass whatever you're going to pass anyways.
Right. Quickly on the substance of the Venezuelan boat blow up and Hegseth and all of that, I think that when these strikes first happened, I said that it was more unsettling to me than just about anything else that Trump had done up to this point. Yeah. And I stand by that. I am deeply unsettled by it. And to watch someone like Tom Cotton go on television this weekend and sort of be gleeful about the fact that we are, in my mind, we are murdering people on the open seas. Right. That is the action that is being taken by the United States military here. And to then follow up an attack on a boat of like, I'll give the administration the full benefit of the doubt. Those were drug runners. Those were bad guys, to the extent that such a thing can be said. They were doing bad in the world for their own personal benefit, and that's a bummer. They should probably be arrested and tried with crimes. Right. The designation of them as narco-terrorists is just entirely fucking bullshit. And for Tom Cotton to go on television, as he did this weekend, and say it was a righteous strike, and the second strike was equally righteous, because what you see there when you're watching these people cling to this boat is they are trying to flip the hull over so that they can put all of the drugs that are floating in baggies around them back into the hull of the boat so that they can then be picked up by their compadres and complete their mission to get these drugs to the United States so that they can kill Americans, right? Like, he's presenting this in such a bad faith way, in a way that is directly in line with the administration's line here, which is that these people are ideologically motivated to harm Americans, that they hate us for our freedoms, and that instead of like Al-Qaeda or bin Laden with his planes flying into the World Trade Center. They want to kill us with their drugs, but it's effectively the same thing, that they are in ideological conflict with the United States, and that they are somehow deep in their bones motivated to kill Americans with these drugs, rather than just being like profit seekers who are common criminals, right? Like, because that's all they, like, obviously that's all they are. It takes either a psychotic mindset or a willingness to tell a ridiculous lie to get to the thing that Tom Cotton got to this weekend, completely ignoring the fact that the Admiral said that these drugs were bound for points unknown, not for the United States, instead for Europe in all likelihood. So, like, I don't know what – I mean, I know Tom Cotton just gets off on, like, hurting the bad guy, and that's fundamentally the place he's coming from is, I, Tom Cotton, am a good guy, and these are the bad guys. And by the way, Tom, that's why that op-ed that you published in the New York Times was so disconcerting when you said that we should put the National Guard in the street. It's because you are willing to take common criminals or antisocial behavior that you don't care for and say that that is at ideological war with the average American, right? That's why it makes me nervous when you talk about putting the military in the street, because of how quick you are to designate your political enemies or your social enemies as being at ideological war with you, and saying that it is permissible then to bomb them the fuck out of off the planet, right? To drop bombs on them from far above. No wonder people get nervous when someone like you insists that you want to put troops on the street in the United States.
You know, I wonder if this is I mean, it has to be a learned trait. Nobody's born into this kind of mindset, but, like, it does. For some people, it's so easy to, like, other somebody, and if you successfully other someone, like, you know, you're like a terrorist, you're like a zealot, drug terrorist somehow, you're whatever, right? You are now an other, and that kind of, like, whatever moral framework I had for how to treat another human being, that gets set aside. Like, that does not apply to you because you're an other.
Keep in mind, it's all a lie in order to put pressure on Maduro.
Right. And he knows that, right? Yeah.
It's all made up to put pressure on a regime that Marco Rubio has longed to get rid of for his entire career. Right? Yeah. And that's what's really going on here, if I had to guess, is that this is something that the Marco Rubio wing of things is pushing for, and that's why this is happening in the first place. Right.
That's true at that level. But for the people who are able to, like, excuse, like, bad behavior, I think I wonder where that gets picked up to, where if you are designated as something other, like in the out group, then, like, nothing really, the rules don't apply anymore. I mean, she's not a politician, but
they're not people.
Like, Megyn Kelly was, like, doing this weird bit where she's like, I want them to suffer. I want bad things to happen to those people. Like, she doesn't know who these people are, but basically they're sufficiently other to where, like, whatever it takes. Like, humanity does not apply here. If somebody's,
they're not people. Yeah. They're Hispanic.
Something less than a fully fledged human. And so, like, if they were hanging on the boats, you know, with injuries and they're suffering in their last moments before that second strike kills them for good. Like I don't know, like, I never understood that sort of way of thinking, like, where you can so easily, like, just put somebody in this, like, different group and category.
Well, the only thing that explains is how you justify the first strike to yourself, right? Because it's obvious to me that the first strike is completely unjustifiable. Right. It's a moral abomination to, from thousands of miles away, drop missiles on people who are functionally drug runners. Right. They're no different than the fucking dumbasses in the streets of Chicago who are hustling drugs from neighborhood to neighborhood. Right. It's not good, right? But it's not something that should be dispatched with total fatal authority, right? It's not it, and it's not. It's not American, right? Like, it's not the way that the system is supposed to work. We're not the fucking Philippines where we just go out and execute drug dealers in the street. Again, maybe I'm too precious here. Maybe I shouldn't be surprised. But I really do think it represents a shift in terms of, like, what were the truly awful, morally abominable things about the Trump administration were all rhetorical, right? Go back to the stupid Adam Serwer quote. The cruelty is the point, right? The spectacle and the chaos and the unpleasantness is the point. But he did not ever strike me as someone who relished the way that Tom Cotton does in the murder of human beings that you've decided you disagree with. And he's going along with it now in a way that surprises me. Maybe I shouldn't be surprised.
And what's troubling is that, the Supreme Court, I think it was today, they heard arguments about this case where they're trying to figure out what the limitations are for a president to get rid of like an independent or something that's classified as an independent agency, independent function of the federal government. Like, can a president get rid of that independent person for whatever reason? I think they have to like show some sort of cause or some malfeasance, something. You have to show some reason why you're getting rid of somebody. You can't just get rid of them because it's politically expedient or to your benefit, right? And now, from what I read today, the Supreme Court is open to just letting the president fire somebody who has a position like that. So more power is entrusted to one office, and so like that's like an independent, something totally different. This is like a military thing. Like the commander-in-chief has a lot of power, and so I don't think there's going to be any cost that this president or any president will bear for this sort of strike. Because again, if you concoct some explanations to why you're killing people, they kind of cut you some slack, and I suspect that that's what will happen here.
Not to play the slippery slope and imagine an awful future game, but when you designate these foreign groups as narco-terrorists and then use that designation as justification for the sort of action that they're taking there off of Venezuela and in the Caribbean, it makes you a little bit more nervous when you see a headline about how the FBI is making a list of American extremists, according to a leaked memo. Got this from Ken Klippenstein on Substack, but it's also in Democracy Now! And a couple of other places. But basically, the FBI is playing fast and loose with designating domestic organizations as potentially terror targets. Quote, the memo later instructs the FBI to establish cooperators to provide information and eventually testify against other members. They want to create within the FBI, a cash reward system for information leading to identification and arrest of leadership figures within the purported domestic terrorist organizations. And in a section titled Defining the Domestic Terrorism Threat, the memo cites extreme viewpoints on immigration, radical gender ideology, and anti-American sentiment, indicators that federal law enforcement are instructed to refer to the FBI Joint Terrorism Task Forces. So the FBI, at the direction of Pam Bondi, is apparently in the process of expanding the definition of what it means to be a domestic terrorist out to people who have what the administration would consider extreme viewpoints on immigration, gender ideology, and quote-unquote anti-American sentiment.
Surely extreme in both directions.
And given the willingness of the administration to bomb terrorists from the sky and kill them because they believe that they're at ideological war with the United States, it should be concerning that that's happening to your fellow citizens as well.
Right. Extreme viewpoints, so just holding a view is enough.
Yeah, apparently. But this is all in the wake of the Charlie Kirk thing, right? Like, so after the Charlie Kirk assassination happens, which was awful, and we talked about how awful it was, they said that we're not going to stand by and the extremist rhetoric that led to Charlie Kirk's assassination, that somehow that was an ideologically motivated thing, not by one sicko individual who had disagreements with Charlie Kirk or misunderstandings about disagreements with Charlie Kirk or whatever it was, but instead he was the product of a widespread domestic terrorist network that is infiltrated itself into the American mind. There's some sort of anti-American mind virus going on in 20 or 40% of the population that needs to be permanently rooted out.
Right.
And that's like in process now within the Justice Department, which should be obviously quite concerning.
If such a case were to go to this Supreme Court, do you have an idea as to which way it would go? Because this seems to be like an open and shut kind of violation of the Constitution. Like, would they find some way around like ruling it down?
They have been the one thing that the Supreme Court has been fairly steadfast on, even as they have given more and more deference and power to the executive, has been free speech. Right? Like the Roberts Court largely has been solid on questions of free speech. So presumably, if like you just don't even the problem is not about how will this fare in front of the Supreme Court in some future case 3 or 5 years from now. The problem is, what are they going to do to cause a massive social uproar with the power that they've accrued to themselves so far, right? So if Bondi and Kash Patel and whoever else at Justice and with Trump's blessing, probably through some fucking awful overnight truth or tweet storm that Trump goes on, where he designates like fucking Joy Reid and Rachel Maddow as terrorists, right? I mean, because he's not shy about saying Mark Kelly is a seditious traitor who should probably be executed, right? Like when the Democrats put out that video, a handful of Democrats put out the video that says you don't have to obey an unlawful order, which to me, and it's something else that we missed over the last 6 weeks, is such an obvious troll that was so disheartening to me, right? Because when I talk about the losers game, like I know what they're doing there. They're putting out something that is undeniably true, right? Like if you're in the chain of command and you believe that your superior officer has given you an unlawful order, you are not required to follow that order, right? Now, it's gnarly, right? And it's difficult. And if you apply that to every fucking grunt all the way down the line, where the soldier at the bottom of the entire chain of command is questioning every single thing that his captain or corporal or lieutenant or whoever says to him, like that's no way to run a railroad if you're the military. But also, it's undeniably the case that unlawful orders are not to be carried out. And so they said this obviously sort of anodyne and factual thing, and then just waited for Trump to have the reaction that he was inevitably going to have. And I frown upon that sort of kicking the hornet's nest, in part because it doesn't change anybody's calculus, right? But you know what you're doing. Right. You're going to get him riled up in order to get your side riled up, and none of the conversations that happen between the two sides are going to be productive.
Well, this is why I always think like bad behavior can be contagious. Like I think this was a week or two ago. This has been an ongoing issue, but the Trump administration, the Trump campaign, they will use music, and artists are not happy about it, and they'll ask for them to stop using the music, either at the campaign rally or for some sort of promotional thing online. Most recently, they used, I think it was like the White House online account, used like Sabrina Carpenter's music to like some sort of deportation thing. And she's like, this is a heinous use of my music. And there was a story.
By the way, you watched that video, and I joked, or I dismissed Adam Serwer's cruelty is the point thing earlier. They've just fully embodied that now, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like the video is to be cruel, and it is showing people suffering.
That's what I said fucking 7 years ago.
No, I know. But it's just so much more straightforward now.
There's no
they have received, in some weird way, they've received the permission structure of being shitty.
Right.
And it's not to say that, like, if you call somebody a Nazi, they're going to behave more like a Nazi. But to some extent, it's like they have only been positively reinforced the worse they have been. And so, of course, we're going to get consistently worse behavior.
Right. And so, like, there was an article where some senior person in the White House said they want that reaction so people can then react to the reaction. Basically, they're anticipating blowback so they can do something with it. And in similar way, the people who said that you should not do the unlawful order, they were anticipating the reaction so they can then, make some political hay out of it. I think
So get the fuck out of here with your self-righteous, I got death threats because of what the president said. You invited the president. You very clearly were begging for death threats. Your best case scenario was to get some lunatic to take a pot shot at you, actually, and to survive it, obviously. I don't know if the thought went that far, but like they wanted to get the reaction that they got.
Right. And so there'll be more of this where you're just kind of like riling somebody else by design. So you're not like stepping into some sort of thing. Like you're doing this deliberately to get a certain reactions so you can kind of benefit from it somehow.
Yeah.
And so that's, directionally that's not good because there's going to be more of that because it's being rewarded, Like if you take that approach, then the standard for what people expect from you will be lessened or lowered, and that way you don't have to always be like a goody two shoes. You can be a bit obnoxious. I think Gavin Newsom is trying to do some of that, where he's just being like an obnoxious whatever, like the social media account. Anytime I see something from that account, they're like trolling the Trump camp. That seems to be the new environment that people are dealing in.
Yeah, and it's like none of it is anything that I really want to engage with, right? Like what have we missed over the last 6 weeks? I don't know. Real quick on our bogus future.
Nothing is ever quick with our bogus future.
This is a nice quick one. Warner Brothers is going to be bought by someone in the next 12 to 18 months. It is not yet clear who. Netflix won the initial bidding process, but now Paramount is coming in over the top, you might say, with a hostile takeover attempt at a higher price. And it appears that the Trump administration is going to be the one who ultimately decides who's going to prevail here. I don't know which my preference would be in terms of the benefit to the consumer.
Neither is good for the consumer, but which one is worse probably? I'm
going to assume that Netflix rolling down the hill in snowball fashion and picking up a movie studio and harming the movie release calendar in the way that they inevitably would, right? They would shorten. Yeah. If Warner Brothers were to make any movies, they would only be in theaters for 2 weeks or whatever before they show up on Netflix. I think that because it's different in kind than Paramount, just adding to their already prodigious studio production capabilities is more disconcerting to me. Whereas Warner going into Paramount is just sort of more of the same of media mergers that we've seen in the past.
I could be wrong, but I think Netflix bid on like parts of Warner Brothers, and some other parts were going to be kind of like separated, and Paramount seems to be doing some other thing where they're trying to get all of it. So I don't know how this is going to shake out.
So Paramount wants to get into the cable news or further stay in the cable news or the cable space, whereas Netflix was not going to buy any of the cable properties.
I think maybe HBO, but it wasn't like. I think there's some difference in what each side wants, and so it'll be interesting to see if they back out of the Netflix deal, and that's going to open a new can of worms. I don't know what's going to happen, but I suspect Netflix has the advantage, but like who knows how this shakes out in a week.
It is bizarre though that like Netflix would be swallowing up HBO, right?
Yeah.
You think about what those two companies were 20 years ago or whenever Netflix first started their DVD delivery service. But it's just fucking weird.
It's crazy, yeah.
Also, Paramount is these fucking Ellisons, man. They've bought CBS. They're taking over.
They got it.
It's getting weird there with these Ellisons.
I know, and there's some like Erica Kirk like town hall or something this weekend. I don't know what's going on with CBS. Strassmann still has a job, and the news side seems to be still intact. So nothing has changed so far.
Yeah, and Trump was railing against 60 Minutes again this week.
Oh, did you catch the Marjorie Taylor Greene interview?
I read about it. I did not watch the thing.
Yeah, I could see why he... Because, speaking of death threats, I don't know if it's... obviously it's easier to send death threats in the modern times than it has in the past, but it seems like everyone gets death threats. As soon as she went away from Trump's, hey, let's drop this Epstein talk, and she signed the discharge petition, she was getting death threats, and she blames Trump for that. And so I think that's partly why Trump was complaining about the segment that aired.
Yeah. All right. Like I said, we can do that quick because all I'm doing is pointing at a merger that I don't like and saying that sucks. It has been a while since we had a dip into America's favorite game show.
It's now time for America's favorite game show. Did Mark Strassmann, CBS News' senior national correspondent, get off a good one?
Dr. Luann Woodward. At the University of Mississippi Medical Center, she's the alpha leader fighting the Delta variant.
Strassmann gets off a good one.
A couple hours later, the mob trampled the Constitution. And Roseanne Boylan of Kennesaw, Georgia.
Ooh, sorry, Mark. Try again next time.
No, you're always saying, I'm welcome to leave. I am leaving now before you talk for another 45 minutes.
Good night.
Good night.
All right. It has been a while since we played America's favorite game show, but Strassmann has been hard at work. A number of segments, a number of good ones gotten off. I don't know if we'll go back into the archive to find them all, but tonight we will find out whether or not Mark Strassmann got off a good one. He's gone to Portland to talk to some coffee roasters.
Oh, nice.
In Eye on America, we look at issues facing the nation. And at the top of the list for many is affordability. On the positive side, a glut of crude has sent gasoline falling to an average $3 a gallon for the first time in 4 years. But coffee is going the other way. And as Mark Strassmann reports, the reason is tariffs.
Get some ice in here. You got the ice drink, right?
As one of America's coffee capitals, Portland, Oregon has grounds for worry. Coffee prices have soared to historic highs.
We have bags of coffee that are $28.50. That's a lot of money for a bag of coffee.
We met Layla Gambari at Gilder Coffee Company, her specialty coffee cafe. She and her brothers practically grew up inside an espresso machine. Her father owned a coffee shop. Gambari became the 2014 U.S. Barista Champion. Now she's a small business owner grappling with another coffee expense, tariffs.
Any coffee that's already landed in the United States is still subject to the tariff.
So this is a tariff cup of coffee?
That's a tariff cup of coffee.
Coffee beans were already high thanks to supply and demand pressures for premium beans and climate issues, especially crop-killing frost. Back in April, the U.S. jolted coffee-producing countries by adding a reciprocal tariff of 10%. Gambari says that costs her roughly 50 cents a bag.
Have you made espresso before?
Nope. At the University of Oregon, Christopher Hendon's a chemistry professor with a nickname, Dr. Coffee. Hendon says these tariffs cost independent coffee operators. To the end user, the coffee drinker, not feeling it.
You probably are not feeling it. You might not care today because the price didn't change all that much, but you might care if your local cafe disappears.
Or your coffee roaster. Charlie Wicker's company, Trailhead Coffee, roasts green beans into brown ones. Tariffs hit him hard.
I had to lay off the 2 full-time employees. So now it's down to just myself and 1 part-time employee.
Was it a real gut punch?
No, the fact that we're still standing is a function of having a little bit of savings to keep the lights on.
Here's good news for America's coffee community. A few weeks ago, the U.S. reversed itself, lifting those tariffs. But relief will take time. Coffee roasters and cafes typically order beans months in advance.
The new coffees that land in our warehouse in February would be untariffed.
But not until February.
Not until February.
For Charlie Wicker, delivering to cafes, lifting those tariffs could be the coffee break he needs. For Eye on America, I'm Mark Strassmann in Portland, Oregon.
All right, Abe. Did Mark Strassmann, senior national correspondent for CBS News, get off a good one?
I'm going to say no.
Ooh, sorry, Mark. Try again next time.
Well, I thought he could have...
Ooh, a harsh judge you are on the comeback here.
I thought he could have... there were some opportunities. You know, some segments, some stories, not a lot of opportunities, and I would cut him some slack there, but he could have played this up a little bit. I don't know. I think I must have missed what he said at the top because I couldn't find any.
Portland, Oregon has grounds for worry.
It's all there, black and white, clear as crystal.
Lifting those tariffs could be the coffee break he needs.
You get nothing. You lose. Good day, sir.
A coffee break at the end? Come on, nothing?
The coffee break at the end, again, it's a long-standing rule that you can't tag something at the tail end and get credit.
Yeah. He could have snuck in a couple of puns in there.
I was like, this is, he must have felt uninspired. You know, maybe he woke up on the wrong side of the bed. I don't know what happened, but missed opportunities. Maybe he's nervous about his job future. You know?
They say, like, you might not notice the cost of coffee as an end user here, is what expert said there that he went and talked to. I completely disagree. Like, a bag of coffee at Costco was like $11 a couple of years ago, and it's like $17 or $18 now. It's like nearly doubled.
Do they mean like the Starbucks and the Dunkin' Donuts locations where, you know, for like $4.50 for like a latte is still $4.50. Is that what they're getting at? Because you're right. If you go to the store, the difference is noticeable. But maybe like if you go to the coffee shop, they're still kind of keeping the prices where they are for the time being.
Yeah. And it's like, as Strassmann noted in his report, like the cost of coffee was already going up because of supply chain issues with the various drought and fire and other problems, climate related, no doubt. Yeah. But then to have these tariffs go in, and then again, it's the stupid Trump administration saying we're going to solve these problems with the tariff, and then we're going to roll them back, and won't you be so fucking grateful? Right. I don't know. Anyway, quick show tonight, obviously. You've been listening to Cast Iron Brains, a podcast with Bob and Abe. Find the show on Substack, brainiron.substack.com for more from us, including, eventually I'll get around to editing the Billboard Hot 100 show that we had guests for back Thanksgiving week. It's quite out of date now, but we'll get that out soon enough. And, of course, Cast Iron Balls, and eventually the long-promised return of the Philip K. Dick'squisition, which I think is going to be a large part of our 2026, Abe. So I hope you're ready. Neato. I hope you're ready for a lot of dick in 2026. The opening and closing themes of the show were composed by Mark Gillig. Tetramermusic.com, Tetramer music.com for more from Mark. Abe, what do I usually say here? It's been so long.
Did you go to the movies?
Did you make it to the movies, Abe, over the course of the last 6 fucking weeks?
Yes, as a matter of fact, I have too many movies to name. I forgot most of them, but most recently I watched The Rental Family with Brendan Fraser, and then Zootopia 2, which I believe you guys also watched, right?
I did. We watched Zootopia 2, or I did. I went with the kids. Yeah.
Right. So I would recommend both movies. In particular, The Rental Family, when it comes out on streaming. It's a nice story set in Japan. I don't know if you've heard of it. It goes into this subculture that's not common to the outside world.
I notice you're being very careful not to use any judgy sorts of words here, Abe, but I can also tell by your reticence to issue judgment that beneath the surface is a lot of judgment going on.
There's no merit to what you just said, Bob. No judgment. I will say, however, this is not related to movies, but you know how the phone and your devices are listening to you at all times, and they make suggestions to things that you spoke about, you didn't type? I'm getting a lot of look what's going on in Japan content in my feed. Oh yeah, and it's not like positive. It's almost like they're trying. I'm not like, look at this robbing thing. Like, it's happening in Tokyo. It's not all glitter and like something is happening to my feed. And again, I don't type these things in.
I'm sure it has nothing to do with the fact that your favorite subreddit is like Japanese street crime or whatever other sicko like Japanese stuff you go to on the
moderator of it.
That's right.
How dare you? Again, no basis in fact. The movie is solid though. Brendan Fraser's in it. He's not Asian. You know, you'll enjoy it. But Zootopia 2. Okay. You watched the first one also, right?
I think it was on while I was in the room. I didn't pay a great deal of attention to it, I guess, but yeah.
But because I have a limited memory, I went back to watch it in preparation of the second one.
Did you take a niece or nephew or a family member to this? You just chose to go see Zootopia 2 on your own?
No, this was a solo outing. I'm going to take my nephew to watch Avatar 3, but no, this was just me and just a bunch of families.
Guess what, Abe? Yeah. We also have our tickets for Avatar 3 already.
Oh, no kidding.
I think the movie comes out on the 19th. Yeah, I think we have tickets for the 21st.
Okay, that's like a Sunday, right?
Yeah, going on this Sunday.
That's okay. There's no football then. Yeah, there's no.
Oh yeah, believe me. Okay. I checked the Avatar available times against the college football playoff schedule and made sure we were clear.
But with Zootopia 2, I feel like they ran the same playbook as Zootopia 1. So the first one, the schism is between like predator and prey, right? There's some underhanded stuff happening, but ultimately there's like prejudices that people have to overcome. You know, the rabbit and the fox or whatever, right? The second movie, it's another schism. It's like what is it? I think it's like
Well, the cats are in charge, right? The lynx.
Yeah, that's right. And I think it's like the snakes, like reptiles are
all reptiles are the only animal that is not permitted in Zootopia are reptiles.
Right.
Because of something that happened 100+ years ago or whatever, where a snake attacked somebody and or that's the story anyway.
Yeah,
right?
that's like the kind of like the myth around it and as to why they're doing this. But basically, it's another thing where overcoming prejudice and kumbaya at the end, right? Like, I don't think there was like a evil, underhanded person in this one, was there? Or was that just the first one? There was some, because like the first one, it was like the deputy mayor.
The lynxes, the whole race of lynxes are quite evil.
Even the supposedly like a good one, like was also like a little shit. Yeah.
Right.
I mean, that part was great. Setting as the foe, the cat. I mean, I've always said somebody should look into this cat thing. Not that I have a problem with cats, but Zootopia 2 did.
You could read some potential, like if you treat the lynxes as the whites. Okay. Like I think it's sort of obvious that this is like an anti-colonialist narrative here, and I don't particularly care to get too deep into that, but a couple of things stood out to me upon watching Zootopia 2. One, is not a very good movie. I disagree. I think it's not good, Abe.
Did the kids like it?
The kids liked it just fine.
Did Lori, Chris, Emily, what did the other adults think?
Yeah, Chris and Emily enjoyed the film as well. They, of course, they scoffed at my indifference bordering on distaste for this movie. Many people scoff when I find pop culture to be distasteful. And that's fine. Whatever. But first, specific to this movie, something that bothers me is references that are made just for the sake of the reference, rather than because the thing that you are referencing speaks meaningfully to the art that you are trying to create. Okay. So at the end of this movie, as a chase is happening between the main characters and the antagonists, they end up doing 60-second to 90-second The Shining bit.
Oh, where yes.
They have the stupid Lynx character go through the hedge maze and to do the Jack limp and to do the Kubrick underneath camera shot looking up at him, the sort of face of evil Kubrick shot that is very famous. And there's no thematic relevant reason for that reference to be made. It doesn't speak to the underlying nature of that character or anything that the movie is trying to say about The Shining, or what The Shining, whatever they believe that the message of The Shining was, is not at all in conversation with the message of Zootopia 2. It's just for the dumbass sitting in the movie theater, or more likely at home, to look up from his phone in a stupor and be like, I know that. Yeah. That's a thing that I know, right? Like, point at a thing that I know, and that makes the happy chemicals go in my brain. And like, this is a multi-$100 million movie from the Disney Corporation, and it's just so fucking lazy. Yeah. Like, if you're gonna make references, have the references fucking mean something, right? Like,
it was almost deployed like back in the day when they would have cameos, like some celebrity would come in and they would get like an applause, like, a sitcom or whatever. But it didn't really mesh with the overall story. It's just like, hey, you know this person from another thing. Like, how about that? Like, here we are.
In Space Jam 2, all of the Warner Brothers property was displayed for no reason, right? Like, you watch Space Jam 2, and in the corner, the Droogs from A Clockwork Orange are spectators in the final game. And it's like, why are those people there? Except that you own the intellectual property rights to this thing, and you want, look at that, I know that. Yeah. Like, if you're going, the point is, if you're going to make references, if you're going to make callbacks to things, they should have some sort of thematic relevance to the thing that you're doing, or it's just there's no coherence to it.
You know what's odd? Not that I keep track of box office receipts, but this movie is doing
so much money,
busters, especially in China. No. Like, it's doing great business in China, and so like, I mean, I'm sure The Shining and other references will be picked up over there also, but it's not like it's weird, like what the thought process is behind making like a this is not going anywhere reference. Like maybe they're thinking like the people who are familiar with this other thing are going to point and say, oh, I know that. And everybody else, it won't really detract from their movie-going experience, right? So, like, maybe they're thinking this is probably part of this world, and they just leave it be. But I wonder what the choice behind that, if this is a movie that's supposed to play across different cultures, different languages, to keep that in, like, I don't know what the thinking is behind that.
I also hated the moments where the two characters finally speak their minds, right? Like, this is a classic, like, we just won't communicate well for an hour and a half, and then we'll have a diarrhea of communication at the very end, and that's the resolution to our relationship arc here. And I hate that oversharing fucking bullshit. And it's all like, instead of showing, it's all telling, right? Where they just speak their innermost thoughts that have been going on for the entire time right back at each other. And it's like, it's very fucking childish and immature. And sure, it's a kid's movie, but like, I've seen kids' movies that handle these things in a more mature way and with a more subtle touch than they were capable of attempting here. Also, the whole thing was so fucking obvious from the beginning. It drives me crazy when I can watch a movie and know exactly what is going to happen with every character's emotion from one scene to the next, and every stupid next plot point. You know exactly what's coming if you're at all in tune with anything that's happening on the screen. Right. Less specific to this movie, but also it's a symptom of the problem that I have with this movie, but also it happens in all sorts of other movies as well. The message of this movie, aside from its sort of anti-colonialist political messaging, is you are more than what your stereotype, that you're more than what other people will make of you based on the way that you present to the world, right? So if you're a bunny, you can also be a tough cop, right? You don't just have to be the victim. You can also be someone who goes out there and makes something of themselves in the world and asserts your authority and identity in the world. And if you're a snake in this movie, for example, you can also be a sweet little absurd character who just wants to help their family out. You don't have to just be this backstabbing thing that everyone assumes that you are. And if you're a fox, you don't have to be sneaky and a thief and against the law. Instead, you can overcome that and become a cop and a successful detective or whatever. That's the message, right? This is an anti-stereotyping message. At the exact same time that 99.9% of characters behave exclusively as their underlying nature insists that they will, right? With zero deviation from what the stereotype would expect of them, right? The lynxes are who they are to their core, to the point where even the one that you think might be the good guy is secretly the most evil of the entire bunch. And it's hard to even be mad at them. That's just who they are. That's their nature. They're cats. They behave as cats behave. Right? The snake slithers on the ground because that's what snakes do. And there's something that is, anytime that you try to use the animal kingdom to make your point about humans and anthropomorphize animals in this way, you inevitably undercut yourself with the undeniable reality that animals are who animals are and cannot escape their fate because of who they have been genetically coded to be for forever. And there's something funny about that to me as well, because it sort of does undercut the message of anti-determinism that a lot of these movies are trying to make, right?
No, that's a good point. I guess they're like that part will be lost on the viewer. Like I wonder if the other parts were, depending on who the audience is, maybe the anti-colonial stuff works in other places, but the kids are not worried about that, right? They're worried about the dynamics between the rabbit and the fox. I think it's Jason Bateman that's doing the voice. And by the way, like, it's not even that it could have used a punch up, right? Like it was just not even that good. Like, what's interesting is I know it takes forever to draw for lack of a better
Yeah.
word. The first one was in 2016. 9 years later, this is released, and now I think they're saying they're targeting 2029. So they're trying to ramp up the production, right? So 4 years from now, before the next one, you would think that that gives you some time to work on the script. You want to make sure you have the script done and it's tight, and then you can go to the next phase of the production. But it seems like that's like they have like a very basic story, and they're like, just make it like zany and colorful, and people will show up. Like maybe it's not. It's not supposed to be
I just
more
think our
complicated.
expectations are so much lower than they were not all that long ago. It's not just, I know we play the Billboard Hot 100 game, but it's not just nostalgia that tells me that Toy Story 3 was a fucking masterpiece, right? It's not just nostalgia that tells me that actually The Lion King and even like The Little Mermaid and Beauty and the Beast were works of art and like monumental achievements in the field of pop culture animation that fucking mattered. Nobody's going to remember Zootopia 2. All they care about is that it made $500 million, right? And it's going to make even more than that moving forward.
Yeah.
And it's entirely disposable. And it bums me out because we can expect more from even our stupid pop culture, right? Even our low culture, we can get way more out of if we're just willing to put the effort in that's necessary. And nobody seems to be willing to put in the extra effort.
I did not watch this movie, but there's another movie that's apparently not very good, Friday Nights at Freddy's. I don't even understand this franchise. I never heard of it, but it made like over $60 million over the weekend. Like, it is a ridiculously popular movie, but if you read any of the reviews, or just kind of get a sample of the reviews, if you don't follow any particular one, and it's like, this is a cruddy movie, But it's like IP that some segment of the population is familiar with, and people will show up for it. And now Zootopia is just like this brand, and people will show up for the third one. So the story, I suspect, if I had to guess, is going to take a back seat again, because like that's not why people are buying the tickets, right? They're gonna release it around Thanksgiving, holiday time, to where people will show up, 10 tickets, 10 people in one row, whatever, and watch it, because it's like, it's the movie that you can watch with everybody. And I think that's probably the biggest appeal. It's not going to be that complicated.
You could do that with Toy Story 3. You could do that with The Lion King, right?
Yeah.
These were wildly successful, very popular, and beloved movies that were also really, really good.
Right.
Aladdin had personality and wit, and the performance of a lifetime from Robin Williams, right? Like, it's possible to get actually good art out of these things. What else have we been up to? Really, it's just football.
Have you watched the Diddy documentary?
I've not yet watched the Diddy thing on Netflix.
I mean, they make him sound like he killed everybody. Like there's been like rumors that he is behind the Tupac murder, and he was responsible for Biggie dying and some other people dying. Like, just they make him out to be like this monster. And what's weird is that in the documentary, for whatever reason, Diddy thought that during just a couple of years ago, when all the allegations came to light with the video from the CNN obtained, where we're like at a hotel and like his girlfriend was getting beat up by the elevator, and all these other people came forward, and he was being sued by like everybody. He thought this would be a good moment to turn on the camera, to hire a videographer as a behind the scenes look. So like, once he's acquitted, he can kind of package it for something, like some bullshit documentary. And when the FBI raided his properties, one of the items they found was the footage, and somehow they don't explain how this documentary crew obtained that, but they used that footage against him, because he's like, there's one scene where like he's meeting the rubes, the people out on the street who still believe in him, they're like, hey, Diddy, I don't believe in that, for whatever reason, when people are physically in contact with somebody who's like, who's facing some criticism, they have this need to like talk them up. Like, no, you're great, don't listen to them. They have no information. They don't know any different. This guy could be a serial killer. But for whatever reason, Diddy, you made that music and I love you. And so he's taking pictures with them. He's entertaining them. He needs them now. But as soon as he gets in his van to leave after talking with the Porsche, he's like, I need to like fucking take a shower and like get like some hand sanitizer. I touched so many hands. Like, basically basically he's like, ugh, I have to like endure that interaction, but like I'm not into it. So like that would never
not the sort of thing that you want your enemies to get a hold of.
Right.
Is your behind the scenes
that's the thing.
documentary footage.
So 50 Cent, he's this rapper guy, and he is the executive producer. He did not make this documentary. They actually have the director and the people who were behind it. Like he's, I guess, the money guy. But like he is making these interviews. He's doing these interviews on TV, and he always has this shit-eating grin. Like whenever they bring up the fact that like he and Diddy are not friends, and so he's taking great pleasure in this whole thing. But he's like, no problems with Diddy. Like I'm just I just want to bring this out to light, for the victims or whatever. But like he's just doing this to kind of shit on this Diddy guy.
Oh yeah.
And again, some of their stuff, like they're interviewing these people who were there, and they were explaining how much of a monster he was all along. And the more you watch them, you're like, why the fuck did you not do anything? And it comes to like they could have financially benefited from their interactions with Puff Daddy, and so they did not say anything. And then once he screwed them over, because this guy, he would screw people over on business deals all the time. Once that happened, and once all these other people came forward, now they're giving these interviews saying how much of a evil person he was. But they were with him for like 30 plus years. It's weird how they're.
Do you find is the documentary worth watching? Does it have any credibility, or is it just?
No, I mean, because a lot of the footage is like footage that Diddy and his people recorded, and then they had the talking head stuff. So it's like I think it's worth watching the first episode, and if you like it, you can watch the rest of it. There's 4 in all, but like again, it sounded very like conspiracy theory, like how he's behind the deaths of people. I've heard those rumors in the past, but I don't know. That sounds kind of off.
Yeah. On Friday night, we watched the Fantastic Four First Steps with the kids. It was fine. There's something about that Pedro Pascal. Like he's such a. Like he's like in like Game of Thrones, for example. He was this like sword wielding dandy, super charmer, right? Like a dude who, the women want to sleep with him, and men want to be him. Women want to be with him. That sort of guy, right? And that's fine. But like his presentation in both The Last of Us and in this Fantastic Four movie is very dour. Yeah. He's very. It's very sad. Yeah. Now, like in The Last of Us, that checks out because, like it's a zombie apocalypse, and he's got a dead daughter, and
he's grieving,
But he's very much a downer sort of character, right? He's just fucking mope going around killing weird mushroom zombies. And then in Fantastic Four, he's just a mope the whole fucking time. Like he's the smartest man in the world, and so that can be a burden. Yeah. He's personally responsible, or takes personal responsibility for the fact that like his best friend and his brother-in-law and his wife and he himself suffered the effects of this cosmic radiation or whatever because he didn't properly do the math. And so now like his best buddy is this weird rock character. And so he's like sad about that. But like it infects the entire attitude of this movie. Like the movie is very dour and sad
because of him.
And it's a very strange attitude. And I actually kind of liked the movie as far as it went, like especially relative to other fucking Marvel garbage that I've seen over the last few years. I thought this one was relatively sort of okay. But like the overall feeling of it was very down, like very sad. And there's only like a moment or two that I can even think of where it's like purely lighthearted. Like at one point, the Human Torch guy is carrying the stupid Boulder Man at high speeds, and he's going to fling the Boulder Man into the big bad guy, who was an impressively large creature. Oh, yeah. Like the scale of the bad guy was well accomplished there. But he's going to fling Boulder Man, who's the Thing, I believe, into the large bad at high speeds. And because these are both characters in a movie, but also because they are intellectual property within the universe of the movie, right? So like they become the Fantastic Four comic book characters within the context of this movie. So he's got a catchphrase. It's clobberin' time. And he doesn't like to say it's clobberin' time. It's just his stupid cartoon version of himself who says it's clobberin' time. And so there's this one moment in the movie where the Human Torch is like at supersonic speeds. He's traveling through the air and he's like, hey, you got to say it. Now's your chance. What time is it? Say it. And he won't say it. He's like, no, you're going to say it. Say it. And he finally does, it's clobbering time. And he does the clobbering or whatever. But it's the only moment in the entire movie that is purely comic booky and lighthearted. And it comes out of nowhere, right? Like this is a life or death struggle for the life of these people's infant, right? Like that's the stakes here are like, are we going to watch this baby, this perfectly innocent baby, become the greatest evil in the universe or not? And he's like, oh, it's clobbering time. It's very sort of incongruous. But otherwise, a perfectly fine movie. Like, I don't know, whatever. Although also, I don't know, I always say that I don't like to talk about people's physical appearances, and then I inevitably do. The blonde who plays Mrs. Incredible or Mrs. Fantastic or whatever.
Is it Vanessa Kirby?
Yeah. She has the face that, like, 90% of female leads have now. Like, it's just so that the thing that women are doing to their faces, and it's not their fault, right? Whatever. It's the culture, et cetera, et cetera. But, like, stop doing this to your faces with the filler and the Botox and the eyes, because you all look indistinguishable from one another.
What is it trying to achieve, that look, you know? Like, because I know exactly what you mean. Like, I don't know if it's just, like, one plastic surgeon or everybody just copying that one look, but it's everywhere. And like, if you're like in a profession where like expression is important, like why would you want to do that to the face, right?
Yeah.
Like it's kind of odd that you would do that, but I don't know what pressure they're under. There's also this, like, somebody likened it back to the 90s, early 2000s era of anorexic look. Like, it seemed like that's coming back. A lot of people are very gaunt and thin.
Yeah, heroin chic is coming back because of Ozempic.
Yeah, so it's like, and you know, like I don't understand why that look, both just very like unhealthily thin and that weird face, is popular, but somebody must be into it.
Yeah, and then otherwise, I've been writing the fucking Bible for the Little League. I'm trying to come up with an operations manual, so that like in the future I can take this. It's probably going to end up being like 40 or 50 pages long. It's going to be like fucking 20,000 words. But like, here is a 3-ring binder, and it's how you run this Little League. And so I won't feel weird about giving you the keys so that I don't have to do this anymore, right? Like, so that's sort of the idea there. I've been spending some time on that. Abe, have you got anything else for us tonight?
Nope.
Well, I do. So we're going to talk about one more thing, which is this guy. A California man, this is from the Associated Press. California man marks his 15,000th spin on Disneyland's Cars ride.
Okay.
Abe,
is that a typo?
No, it's 15,000 times he went on this ride. You were not a theme park enthusiast until this summer.
Yes, that's right.
When we took you to your first roller coaster. And you began to appreciate the fun and wonder that can be getting into a car or whatever and being whipped around a track at high speeds. It's a lot of fun, right?
Yeah, good times.
This attraction opened in 2012. Since 2012, John Allen Hale has ridden the Radiator Springs Racers ride at Disney California Adventure 15,000 times.
Okay, so when we went to that amusement park, even when there wasn't a line, they said like you could go like twice or thrice maybe, and then you have to like go back to the line or do something. I remember there was some like even if you went to a ride where there was no line, they had some sort of limitation. So is this person just doing like he shows up at 10 a.m. and he just rides one ride all day, and he does that multiple times? Because 15,000 is a lot to get to. In 13 years.
Since 2012, he's visited Disneyland 1,100 times and taken the ride 13 times on average each time he's been there, largely thanks to the fast-moving line for single riders. So he's doing this alone. And I know you're a man who's not shy to, for example, go to Zootopia too.
Oh, yes.
On a random Wednesday night all by yourself. There's nothing wrong inherently with that. I think dining alone can be a wonderful experience, in fact. But 15,000 times to ride the same ride that only maxes out at 40 miles per hour.
Right.
Like it's a thrill ride. It's an amusement park ride. It is thrilling, no doubt.
Is it like that car thing, like that had like some sort of like a southern flair in the past, and they changed it? Like, weren't we like in this car like racing thing? Like, I forget what it was called at Busch Gardens, but there was a one where like this fake race between these two red and blue.
Oh yeah. The what did they call? I don't remember what they called.
But like, is that something similar to this? Because I mean,
Racer 76 or something was the name of it, or Racer 75 maybe. Sort of, yeah. So it's you end up in a race at the end with the car that is next to you, and apparently the finish is up in the air. You don't know who's going to win, and it is randomly assigned. And so this guy kept track of his car's color, which lane he was in, and whether he won or lost, which is in part how he knows that he's ridden the thing 15,000 times, because he has a log of how many times he's won and lost the race. I'll make sure there's a link in the show note to a ride-along video of this ride, because like, again, because it's Disney, it's well done, and like you go through this little narrative where you're getting ready for race day and all of this stuff, and like you interact, or there's some very good animatronics that are part of the ride. I'm sure it's a wonderful thing, but to commit to doing that 15,000 times over the course of the last 12 or 13 years strikes me as like really depressing. Also, like it seems really sad to me.
Did he set out to hit 15,000, or he just loves it so, and now he realizes, oh man, I've done it so? Because like, I mean, to me, there's no way that you would randomly do this 13 plus times every time you go, and you go there so many times, 1,100 times.
I mean, we were talking about whether or not like Ty Simpson and the Indiana quarterback Fernando Mendoza, like how much autist is going on in there. There must be some sort of autist going on inside this guy.
Okay, so in like what? How many years did he do this?
Since 2012, when the ride opened.
Okay, so 13 years. Let's see. So that's about 4,700 days or so. So he did like 1,100 days. He's going there so frequently. It's remarkable.
Like once a week.
Yeah, like
right?
It's remarkable how often you would have to go to do this.
What is something that you would choose to do once a week for 15 years all day long?
Oh, not all day long. So even like movies would be the closest comp. I like to go once a week, but I don't like watching.
But if you're going to ride it 13 times, that's what you're doing with your day.
Yeah, that's true. I can't imagine doing that. You would get tired of it so fast.
It's a 4-minute experience. Like from the time that you strap in and they send you on your way to the end, it's like 4 minutes and 11 seconds or something. Right. And he's done the same thing 15,000 times.
Hey, you got him, a story on the AP.
You must feel it in your sleep. Like when I play too much Dr. Mario or Tetris on the Nintendo, I can see the little bricks moving across the screen when I close my eyes, right? Like I lay down to go to sleep and my brain is still playing Dr. Mario and it fucks me up, right? Or if I'm like reading a book sometimes and I fall asleep, my brain starts filling in the sentences and I start doing weird reading/writing in an incoherent sort of way in my sleep. He must just close his eyes and constantly experience more of the ride. Yeah. On his quest, Hale said he's come away with more than just a number. He's gotten to know people at the park and become friends with some of the workers. It's like family, Hale said. Everybody recognized me. They're rooting for me.
Oh, no.
It's the saddest
This got
thing.
sadder. Wow, they're rooting for me.
Abe,
He's not doing anything. He's just sitting down.
if Amy Taxon, the AP reporter who reported this story, were to interview the Disneyland ride workers who he claims to have befriended over the course of the last 15 years, how many would say that they have a genuine friendship with Mr. Hale?
If you're the editor, you tell them, no, you got to go back. You need to get some additional information. You know, like there should be another paragraph. Like that's not how they tell it, and then they go into it. Yeah, I can't imagine his characterization is all that accurate.
What is the thing where a thing on the internet becomes bad once you milkshake duck?
Okay.
Right? The milkshake duck effect is where you find out some cute or clever story on the internet, but don't look into the details because inevitably it will be Nazis, right? Like you will find out that
That's right.
the 9-year-old who has the pet parakeet that does really cute things online, their parents are white supremacists or something, right? Like the thing that you think that is cute and good and wholesome, if you do any amount of research on the back end, you milkshake duck it and it turns into something bad. There's I would say it's 50-50 that this guy is a fucking serial killer.
50-50. This guy's definitely.
Right? Like the next headline in the AP is 6 months from now, and it's California man who marked his 15,000th spin on Disneyland's Cars ride has 1,400 childhood victims who he diddled in the dark on the Cars ride. This was a victim seeking exercise by this fucking creep, and he took advantage of the single rider line to get into cars with groups of people who didn't have a full slate, so that he could pester them through the ride.
There's got to be more to the story. I say by summertime 26, we'll know more.
All right, Abe, have you got anything else for us tonight?
Nope.
I guess that's all we've got for you tonight then, and we will talk to you next time.
Later. So are these the friend or like family and friends? Like who are these people?
Poses with friends after taking his 15,000th Radiator Springs Racers ride at Disney California Adventures.
So,
notably, none of those are Disney employees.
Right, none of them employees, and usually like this would be a good PR story for this place. Like none of the suits came to commemorate this. Like, I think they don't want to have anything to do with this guy.
Disneyland officials did not immediately comment on Hale's ride Monday. Because he's a serial child abuser, clearly.
I bet you there's not even like actual hard evidence, but if you triangulate the data, all what you know about this person, you know there's something off about him, right? You don't know exactly what, but there's something off about this person. And yeah, I would not want to do any sort of press with this guy.
The proceeding was created with 100% human content.